my man going down. That's my man going down. That's my man throwing down. That's my man throwing down. That's my man going down.
Oh, oh, there we go. Hey. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming here today, and I really appreciate it. And I hope all of you enjoy my panel or talk today. Thank you. All right. So I'm Paul. I'm a freelance branding and community manager, always willing to help organizations enter the gaming space. And before we get started, could I get a show of hands on how many have heard the term speed running before? Oh, wow, okay. And if you're on Twitch, feel free to type a 1. All right. And raise your hands if you consider yourself part of the speedrunning community. Okay, cool. Well, much fewer than before, but awesome. Cool to you. And if you're on Twitch, type a 2. All right. Well, thank you. And welcome everyone to Speedrunning. The only enemy is the clock. And for those of you online, if you can't see the presentation, I made a tiny URL, so tinyurl.com/PAX-speedrun. And you could copy and look at the PowerPoint online, as well as my notes in front of me. It's also on my Twitter, the Paul S, or the Paul S. I have a link there as well. So for those of you online, feel free to follow along. And if you ever have questions or want to refer back to this, it's all online and it's up there. So, again, before we get started, this is my speedrunning background. And more or less, I have sped run The Witcher 3, Luigi's Mansion, Cyberpunk 2077. A lot of you online may know me as Puzzle. That's my alias. And that's my speedrunning background, as well as GDQ. I'm an event moderator for them, volunteer, just to mod Twitch chat, Discords, a lot of the online social platforms that way. And for the title, Speedrunning, the Only Enemy is the Clock, I'm pretty happy with the title because it's a nice, cute title, and it gives a sense that, or essentially tells to everyone that us in the speedrunning community, we're all together against an intangible object, and that being the clock, or the goal, and that being the clock or the time. All right, so let's go ahead and fully dive into it. So what is speedrunning? It's a funny term if you really think about it. Running is already fast, but speed running doesn't make too much sense at all. It's a unique saying if someone doesn't know what it is. I don't know where the history of the word came from, but it is here today, and this is what we call this activity. I'm going to go ahead and define it just in case you don't know what it is, or get my perspective of the definition. So what is speedrunning? Up on the screen, my definition is achieving a goal within a video game with the intent of doing it quickly. And it's a broad definition, but I want to give the impression that it doesn't have to be timed, and it's a self-made goal. And up here you can see the other goals that or some common goals up there. So for newer people who just want to run, it could just be for fun, just doing it quickly. And but of course others have different definitions of what speedrunning is. And for example, it could be beating the game as quickly as possible. It could be breaking the game, meaning finding glitches, hacks, or exploits. And I'll touch up on some of these in the next slide. Excuse me. But you could see that these are some pretty common goals. And that's the general gist of speedrunning. Play a game as quickly as possible. So we're going to go ahead and jump into what is in a speedrunning community. So this will give you a neat insight of the speedrunning iceberg. So more or less, why is there a speedrunning community? I even asked here, who is in the speedrunning community? Sometimes running is done alone, but for the most part, there's a community around a game or a series of games. And here on the screen are some of the roles with a community. We have runners who run the game and physically run the game. We have glitch hunters, those seeking glitches, exploits, loopholes, etc. We have admins to verify runs because people do try to cheat sometimes. And we have those who create documents and routes to help continue routing the game, be it for new, returning, or veteran runners. Because sometimes there's a lot to keep up, especially with my main focus being The Witcher 3. The game's huge, so it's good to have something to reflect back to. And then we do have lore masters, and lore masters tend to help more so with commentating in the speedrunning community, especially during marathon runs, and I'll touch upon what a marathon run is later. But lore masters help commentate because for a runner, it's specifically hard to commentate your own run, especially when you're focused in running and trying to get those frame perfect glitches or jumps or things like that. So there's a lot of focus. So it's nice to have someone who understands the lore of the game to help commentate at the pace of the story that the runner's running the game at. Especially because there's so many games, it's hard to know the lore of every game. So it's very helpful to have that info. So more or less, and again, this is only to list a few, and there's several others Well, you could create your own rules, so to say, if you just want to be part of the community. And that could even just be involved with just watching and partaking in some of the live events, because you're part of the speedrunning community just by partaking in it, which is always fun to do. So some of the crazy stuff this community has done has been documentations, have been glitch hunting. A really cool glitch that was recently found is you could use Paper Mario to activate a glitch in Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. So it's completely bizarre, and I'll go towards this at the end. But it's just crazy how people find these things. So we're going to go ahead and move to why do we speedrun? So I get this question a lot, and it's essentially how do these people find out all these crazy things that happen? And, yeah. So on top of that, why would anyone ever want to speedrun The Witcher, Sonic, Cooking Mama, or even Stardew Valley? Because all these games are ran, but not many of you or I even think of those games being ran. So talking to a few peers and in the community, for the most part, these are not in any particular order, except for the first one, and that being fun. A lot of people speedrun for fun, which who would have thought? It's fun playing games, especially with a new way of playing it. So we also have on this list replayability, and you could think of it as a new way of playing your favorite game. Not everyone thinks of it that way, but it's always fun to replay games with a different perspective and with a different take on it. We also have a community rally where people just love the game so much, you just want to be together to champion the game and keep going with the game and just watch the game in different lights and perspectives. We have competition, such as races, and racing could just be as casual as you and your friend hopping on a sparrow, doing a sparrow race in Destiny 2 on a planet, to trying to get world records on leaderboards and things like that, just trying to be the top of the top. But again, it could be as casual as something very simple, just play a level that you haven't played in a long time with your friend and just see who's the fastest. And this is, again, only to list a few. I do want to highlight another bullet point in the competitive scene, or the competitive point, and that is that there was a Dota 2 professional player who was professional, but he left their respective scene due to the toxic environment in the Dota community at the time. And for them, they found a great replacement to being repetitive in speedrunning. And so it was a great jump for them to go into speedrunning because of their competitive nature. And the speedrunning community, because of how it came along, and all the runners in the community were up against this one collective goal again, which is the time. Everyone helps each other, and more or less it's a positive environment, and it's fun to be in because everyone's playing the game that they have played long hours in. And so that's some of the competitive stuff. Again, I touched up on the competitive or casual competitive, such as sparrow racing. Very simple as that. Oh, and yeah, more or less you and your friends could just pick up the game and have fun that way. And also up on the list we have learning opportunities. I do want to highlight that because a lot of members who do come in the speedrunning community, say for The Witcher or Luigi's Mansion 3, a lot of people are stuck on a boss or are curious about a quest or there's a bug that they found. And in the speedrunning community, we certainly know how to fight our bosses. We really do. And if we mess up, we know backup strategies. And if we mess up again, we've spent hours and hours already on that boss that we just know their mechanics and features. And so it's a good learning opportunity if you want to learn more about the game, as well as just strategies. There's some really cool techniques that runners do that just might help your overall gameplay and experience with the game. So that's a fun thing to just remember. Um, and one great highlight with the competitiveness as well, or going back to it, is how asynchronous it is. And I'll touch upon this towards the end when I bring up esports and speedrunning. But asynchronous meaning I could run the game right now, and then everyone here could run the game a month later, and we could still compete against each other. It doesn't have to be right there at the moment where two parties are needed to be together. We could do it separately, and it could be several communities doing it across the world at different times. So that's some cool stuff, and you could compare a lot of this to track and field for sports, and many others. But of course, you could always just enjoy speedrunning just by watching events such as GDQ, ESA, and many, many more. And for those of you who don't know what GDQ is, or Games Done Quick, it is a large charity event, a large Twitch event, where a bunch of speedrunning communities get together to fundraise for charity. And if you don't know what it is, I recommend it. Just go on YouTube or Google it. It's super easy to find. So why do I speedrun? So up here, what you're going to see is a leaderboard on speedrun.com. And when you search up The Witcher 3, I'm number 7th. The true background on why I speedrun was because I never saw The Witcher 3 at GDQ, and I absolutely love The Witcher 3. It's a phenomenal game, and I encourage everyone here to play it if you haven't already. And so I didn't see it at GDQ, and so I started running it. I didn't really know how to run it, but I just played the game and started playing with it. And again, up here, if you check the leaderboard, it has been a while since I've submitted a new Summa Best, or my best personal best. But very recently, one of our good friends, Venom Cold, he finally was able to break under the 3-hour mark. So The Witcher 3 could be beaten in under 3 hours. And again, to just help guide the leaderboard, at the very top, you have any percent, Heart of Stone, Blood and Wine, and those are different categories. I know a lot of people think of speedrunning as doing the best glitch out there, and then you just kind of go about doing these crazy glitches. But a lot of these categories don't involve glitches at all. Especially for The Witcher, it is very hard to find a glitch and an exploit to skip anything. So for the most part, we have to do everything. And many other games do have glitchless categories. So you can do either or. Again, it's pretty accessible and inclusive to whatever you like. But one of my favorite things to do in The Witcher 3 is theory crafting. Theory crafting or glitch hunting, whatever you like to call it. But essentially, I open up the game and just try crazy, wacky builds. And I'm proud to say that I have found several glitches that are used in the Witcher speedrunning community. One of the first impressive ones is I know how to get unlimited damage in The Witcher. It's super easy for some bizarre reason. You just move an item back and forth and you're done. I have no idea why it was never found before, but that's what it is. And a lot of the routes or pathing and some of the strategies I've done are used for the world record routes, which I'm pretty proud of. And one reason for me why I know I'll never be on number 1 is because I play on a controller on my computer. And it is a little bit slower, but I play for fun, and that's just my take on it. I'm not going to push for leaderboards and things like that. But if you want to do so, by all means, go for it. And I'll do my best to help you. And for those of you curious about under 2 hours, this is the old patch version, which you can downgrade, and this is still being updated. But we finally beat The Witcher in under 2 hours, which is crazy to think about for some people, considering how big and open the game is. So this is just something cool to showcase with the different categories that are available. So moving forward, I'm sure with all these bullet points, there's much more I could talk about and go in detail with, and I'm sure we could elaborate further on these bullet points. So on to the next slide. How do others speedrun? So I kind of touched up on this with me and the theory crafting. But we do have glitch hunters, people just finding glitches, exploits again. We have marathons, and to help differentiate between marathons and normal races or to be on the leaderboard, a lot of marathons are live events or to get ready for essentially, take that back, more or less live events or racing against each other. And with marathon runs, at live events, you do not want your game to crash. You don't want to soft lock, which soft lock essentially means you can't progress the mission on forward. So for marathon runs, we tend to do a lot of safetier strategies, while for races and for leaderboard attempts, we do riskier things. And so that's a good differentiation between the two. We always have entertainers, we have streamers, people just showcasing some awesome, crazy stuff. And recently, some of the new ways of running, we have randomizers. And what a randomizer is, effectively, a modder goes in the game and just puts items randomly everywhere. They mix and match, and call it a scavenger hunt, if you will. The runners go ahead and mix around stuff, and the runners have to find those items and go about things like that. We also have bingos, which essentially you have a bingo board, and again, this is where modders and lore masters could help, and runners have to figure out what's the best way to find bingo. So with these different ways of running, it's pretty cool just to try out and experiment new ways on how to race. And very recently, we have challenges, which is essentially a 24-hour speedrunning challenge. So you only set yourself 24 hours to speedrun any game. And this could be useful for new players to try out something new, or for returning players to try out a different game, even though they're in the category or in their respective communities. So these are some cool new ways on how to speedrun, and they're pretty fun, and I enjoy them, and they're fun to watch. So what happens when we finally put everything together? So we get awesome things. We get pretty cool things. We get events that everyone knows about that raises millions. We get crazy world records. We get crazy glitches that everyone sees and we all love to showcase and see. We get races, we get esports, and we get much, much more. And so now I'm going to truly start getting into the nitty-gritty of speedrunning, just some of the stuff many of you have not seen before, unless if you're really into speedrunning. So up here, we have two documentations, and I'm just going to quickly go over the boring stuff, and after this, it'll get much more interesting. I'll talk about more. But up here on the screen, we have the Luigi Mansions 3 Excel sheet and the Witcher 3 documents. Luigi's Mansion 3 lists every strategy, moving technique, glitch, and much, much more, all with videos. And there's about 20 different sheets that were that long. I'll go ahead and just loop them again. At least the Luigi's Mansion one. And so as you can see, there's a ton of information in there. And someone has to make this. And so it's a lot of dedicated time that goes into this. As well as for The Witcher 3. For The Witcher 3 specifically, it's a 54-page document that lists the entire Any Percent, Blood and Wine, and Heart of Stone. But it'll go ahead and, that's fine. It'll go ahead and just discuss everything The Witcher related, from different strategies to moving techniques to the little skips that we have here and there. But for the most part, if you go ahead and have read those essays, I'm sure everyone here would be ready to tack on The Witcher 3 and beat it in under 3 hours. So we're going to go ahead and move on to maps and routing. Maps and routing, I think, is one of the funnest parts of it, again, because I like the theory crafting, problem-solving aspect of things. And for the most part, what routing and maps are helpful for is to optimally route paths to be as quickly as possible. And this is a brief rundown on how routing essentially begins and ends. But we figure out what we need to do, figure out what we need to learn how to do everything, because there are those annoying fetch quests where we just have to run, retrieve an item, and come back to the same person. But sometimes that item's next to a different quest, and so we route those all together. But those fetch quests can get quite annoying or tedious. And so we need to figure out where we could return all this stuff and complete quests and missions. And keep in mind that all this stuff can be updated. As well as for 2D games, these things do exist, such as knowing when to jump, when to pick up power-ups, and things of that nature. So once something does get optimized, everyone starts running the same paths, but then someone like me will come along and be like, oh, hey, let's try using this other thing, and it becomes faster. And when it becomes faster, now everything needs to be changed again. But all the old information tends to be safer sometimes, and so that stuff is used in marathons, and that's what a lot of people see, because the new stuff, maybe not everyone is used to it. We all develop some sort of muscle memory into how to run the game with things like that. So a very quick example with The Witcher 3 is the botchling skip. Effectively, we kill this one botchling, and we kill it and run through town, and that's it. What we figured out is we could actually fight the boss, kill it, and then we jump over a fence into a lake, and it unlocks a new fast travel location for us. And because that happens, now the entire rest of the route has to be changed, because we do unlock a new fast travel location at a specific moment in time before everything else opens up. So then a lot of things change, and we just have to update it and keep it updating. And there's always many, many more things that do change every now and then. So it's really cool just how that works. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a cool, quick demonstration or evolution of the Witcher 3 White Orchard scene. So this is the map in The Witcher 3. At first glance, just follow the red line, and then the green, then the yellow, then the blue. So this is the route that we took at the beginning on how to complete the White Orchard sweep run, or sweep category, which essentially we complete all the quests in White Orchard, which is the very beginning of The Witcher 3. So it's a very cool, short intro into speedrunning The Witcher. And it's really fun to do because we fight various monsters that we do skip in many, many other categories. So it's pretty cool just playing it and fighting those monsters, especially when you're level 1 or level 3. We get pretty creative with some things just to avoid them. But again, yeah, just the red, then the green, yellow, and blue. And so this is the first map. And now, this is our most up-to-date map. Obviously, the graphics have been improved, which is great. And it's a bit hard to see, but you start from my right, so the green to the blue, you more or less go across the map, and then go down, and then go up to the red, and then you're done. So there's a lot more detail in this because there's a lot to do. And this is the most optimal pathing, so if you want to learn how to do it, you could certainly do it just by following this. Excuse me. So this is the evolution of the White Orchard sweep, and I think it's a good visual representation. So we're going to go ahead and go into glitches, which I think are the fun part. That's what everyone sees. That's the most bizarre, wacky stuff. And up here, there's a very famous moment in The Witcher where you'll call for your horse, and it'll spawn in the most random locations. And the community just has a blast with it. They even made a card for Gwent, which is an in-game or standalone game, where the horse is just on a ceiling. And next to it, there's a screenshot of me in the actual game of the horse. It's also on the ceiling. So this still happens, and we always say bless Roach and hope Roach spawns in the best locations during our runs, because that could it's Roach. Roach has its own personality. All right, so this section is by far the funnest part. And I'm going to go ahead and answer one of the most asked questions that I get. And I said this earlier, but how do people find some of those crazy, wacky glitches that we all see and are showcased everywhere? So for the very short answer is it's one glitch, build upon another one, build upon another one, and another one, and another one. You put them all together, and you get what you get. And sometimes it crashes the game, sometimes things don't load, sometimes things just break, and who knows what the game's gonna do. And that's the short answer on how those crazy, wacky glitches get brought up. And I did mention earlier how people have found a way to use Paper Mario to activate a glitch in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And there's a YouTube explaining it, so if you just type it in, you can find it. It's great that those communities have figured those things out somehow, but it's something with the actual hardware of the N64, something getting stored somewhere. But yeah, there's plenty of resources on to learn the further details of those things. But for this example, I'm going to present another Witcher example, because that's what I know. And that's what I love working with. And so, to begin, there was a boss that we needed to fight, but the boss was in a pit. And Geralt, our main character, is in the pit. And I was trying to figure a way how to skip it and avoid it entirely, because it's quicker just to ignore it and keep going. But we have to jump on a raised platform. But when we're in combat, Geralt, the character, he can't jump. He just kind of roll dodges to avoid attacks when you push the same button for jumping. So I'm at an issue where I can't jump because I'm in combat, and I'm in combat because there's a monster. Slowly, after hours and hours of bashing my head against the wall to try to get onto this raised platform, I figured out you could reload the game, and if I spam jump, the jump button, Geralt will just start jumping because he loads in before the monster does when you reload the game. And now I can start jumping. But if I do anything else, the game forces me into combat and I stop jumping. So more or less, now what I learned is I could force myself not to enter combat, and I could just jump all over the place. It's kind of slow and it looks weird. I would love to show a video, but it's in the darkest room because it's in a cave, and it's just terrible playing that section specifically too because of how dark it is. But you just jump around and you get there. Long story short, you get out of the pit, but the gate isn't open, and so then I have to fight the boss anyways. But all those hours are very useful because we could apply it elsewhere. So now we know we could force our character to stay out of combat, and we could jump when monsters are around, because no one has ever done that before, so it's pretty cool to do that. And so this big example that I'm going to show you, there's going to be two short videos, and I'll be explaining them. But it's called Skirver Skip, and it's in the Blood and Wine DLC. It's at the very beginning. It's the first real quest that happens in a place called Toussaint. And Skirver Skip, we go ahead and have to investigate some stuff, but there are monsters in the way. And so we can't investigate what we need to investigate. Oh, and for Skirver Skip, this is what a Skirver looks like. They are not pleasant at all, and they're annoying. You fight them, and they explode, and there's spikes everywhere, and it staggers you, and then there's another one, and you can't. They're a huge, huge pain. So it was so nice being able to skip them finally. All right, so this is the first video. So up here, we investigate the footsteps, and then since this is without Skirver Skip, we're going to actually fight the Skirvers. And as you could tell, it's pretty slow. And then you could eventually, because they explode, you stagger, and it's just obnoxious. Then you try to leave, and then you get staggered, and you try to leave again. It's all just a pain. So we're going to investigate some things on the ground, and we jump to cancel the animation of actually reading the ground. And then we collect an item in the water. And once the item is done, we go to the land, and a cutscene will happen, but the NPC will blabber on about, oh, good job killing the scurvers. And now, awesome. So it's 3 minutes and 50 seconds when the cutscene happens, and that's effectively the end of that scene. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you scurver skip on how we skip the scurvers. And so again, we're going to investigate the footprints, but we're immediately going to run to the investigation spot. And luckily we could get this first one. We get it, but as you notice, Geralt grabs his sword and then jumped in the water. And because we know how to force ourselves out of combat, the water keeps us out of combat. So we use that to our advantage. We investigate the final spot and the cutscene immediately happens. And as you can tell, it's 3 minutes and 10 seconds when we're already running out, or running away from the cutscene towards the rest of the mission. And believe it or not, but this skip was discovered about 8 months ago, and the game's been released in 2015. So it saved us over 40, 50 seconds. And that's not including random scurver RNG. Some of them spawn way too far away, and they're just annoying. So these skips just helped, and the knowledge that we gained from jumping and has helped us with something like this, where we know there's a way where we could force ourselves not to be in combat, and we use that application with using the water to not be in combat, which is pretty cool, and this is a cool visualization on where it happened. No, I don't want to play again. Or we're playing it again. Okay, awesome. So now we get into the miscellaneous section where I'll touch upon speedrunning for events, esports, how to get started, as well as some helpful information for game developers out there. So first for esports events, up here, here's a picture at a live event at GDQ before this. So one great thing with esports and events with speedrunning is, again, how asynchronous it is. We could play this at separate times whenever we wish and compete against each other at the same time. Especially that leaderboard. I don't know if any of you caught this, but where that leaderboard, everyone's from all around the country, but we're all competing against each other. So it's pretty nice on how accessible and inclusive it is, especially for me playing on a controller. Everyone else plays on a mouse and keyboard, but we still compete and have a good time together. And there was even a race where Boostmaster, my friend, he's from France, and his icon's a rainbow unicorn, so he's Boostmaster the Unicorn, is what I call him. And we raced Blood and Wine, and we were neck to neck, even though I used a controller and he used mouse and keyboard. And he was playing using a sword route, and I was using alchemy, where I'll just throw bombs everywhere to kill things. And we were neck and neck and neck and neck until the very end at the second to last boss. And unfortunately, he died because it's one of the roughest bosses in Blood and Wine. Blood and Wine is not a forgiving category. Those bosses are rough. And so that's a good race example where we just go against each other and just have a fun, good time. On top of that, it's also offline, so you could just do it casually on the couch at home. You don't have to be online to play it. And then more so for events, if you ever plan an event or hosting an event, and you have a schedule, and say you have a 30-minute block or an hour block, and you don't know what to put it in, if you bring in a speedrunner to fill in that 1 hour block, depending on their game, you could count on them to beat it in 45 minutes and 22 seconds with 0.250 seconds. You could always count on them being as consistent and fluid as possible during those time zones or the scheduling. So it's pretty nice, and just knowing that for events, and something you could just showcase for your communities. And if you really want to learn more on the esports and speedrunning together, GDC, there's this lovely, lovely lady who gave a talk at the esports summit of GDC called Race to Compete, Speedrunning and Esports. So if you want to learn more on that, there's a talk that further delves into that. So where and how do we speedrun? So up here I have some logos. I'm going to start with the where first. For the most part, you could just go on speedrun.com, and they have plenty of resources on how to get started, where to play, what to play, things like that, as well as a list of resources. But speedrun.com is pretty nice, and they're that little trophy icon at the bottom left. But you could always just hop in a community Discord. I know The Witcher 3, we have our own, excuse me, we have our own Discord for all of CDPR games. So Cyberpunk's also on there, and Thronebreaker and The Witcher 1 and 2. And then we also have events. You can just partake by watching GDQ. It's always fun just to see what happens and all those crazy things. And then you could always just partake of speedrunning at home. Again, it's offline, so you can just do it for fun, just whenever. And again, remember, a lot of these people do speedrun for fun. I know for me, I absolutely love The Witcher. It's a phenomenal story, and speedrunning has helped me with being able to replay it in a different way. So it's really fun just to play it and do many cool things with it. As for the how, essentially just start playing a game and doing it quickly, and that's how you get speed. That's how you start speedrunning. If you want a timer, live split is essentially the industry standard for the speedrunning. It's fully customizable, but those are the timers you see on the left, and in that video you saw a transparent one. But again, they're fully customizable. I have a cool wallpaper of some cute dogs while I speedrun that they change to help motivate me, saying, "Yay, you're doing great." So I love my timer, and everyone has different timers, it's a fun way to personalize who you are as you're speedrunning. But it's essentially your stopwatch. You don't have to make it as long as that Zelda one. You could just have a stopwatch. You can just use your phone also if you're not recording or not trying to be as serious as this. Pretty plain and simple. And then for recording, if you do want to record just as proof that you did do it and submit it somewhere, OBS, which is, or OBS Studios, which is that little circle icon down there, you can just start recording your games. Recordings do take a good file size on your hardware space. And so just upload some of the good ones to YouTube and then delete the bad ones. That's what I do. But that is essentially the how. If you have a console, I mean, just use your phone as a stopwatch and start playing. Again, just do it for fun, really. That's what I do. All right. Now, the last miscellaneous section is game devs, how you could help with your speedrunning community. Because keep in mind, a lot of the players who do play your games love the games. Although some of them do break the game and do wacky things, there are those other categories that aren't showcased as much, where it's no glitches at all and just play the game. And again, The Witcher, we don't really have glitches or anything, so we were forced to play the game. It'd be fun to make it faster and faster. But we love your games. There's so much fun, and there's so much life and story into it. And just interacting with your communities is great and phenomenal. It'll be fun just to chat with them, see what they see what they think, because we, the runners, have a feel of your games on how they work. And up here, I have a picture of the Steam beta, and this is for a Hat in Time. Something cool that the game developers in the Hat in Time has done is they made a Steam beta branch with different patches, or several patches for speedrunning communities for them to easily downgrade or downpatch their games before a big glitch was exploited or got updated. So it's easy for them to change. So it's a cool, neat little thing that specific community did, but you don't have to. Some other great things are key bindings. Again, I play on a controller, so it's nice to change some buttons. It would be nice to disable tutorials because we play your games a ton, and I mean a ton and a ton and a ton. And specifically Blood and Wine, the very start of the game is I start writing Roach to a signpost, and then tutorial, you unlock New Game Plus mode. Tutorial, this is how you jump, this is how you pull your sword, and it's like, please let me just disable them in the options or something. But I understand why it's there, especially for returning players who may not know the buttons. But it would be nice to disable those things. And then some other stuff. There has been a phenomenal PAX talk, or PAX online talk, called Let's Race, How Devs and Speedrunning Communities Can Be Friends. So if you are a game dev out there, feel free to check out that panel, because they really further dive into that kind of stuff. And that's for me using the presentation. But now I am open to Q&A. That's essentially the end of my panel, and I want to thank all of you. And if there's time, or if any of you have questions, feel free to get up to a microphone and ask away. Well, thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark. If one is primarily a console gamer, what are the kind of state-of-the-art in capture cards for streaming and or proof recording?
Yeah, so for console gaming, one of the great tools is Elgato. They have just a little capture card that you could plug into your computer, and you essentially plug in your Switch or PlayStation into the Elgato, and then it comes out onto your monitor. And that's how I first went speedrunning Luigi's Mansion 3. That's how I did it. And now I have an Elgato with a PCI. It's just actually in my motherboard, and that's how it's ran through. But if you don't have one of those, or if you don't have a computer who could run it, I have done with my friend for an old console, I think the PlayStation 1, I just got a phone and just pressed record while watching the screen, and that's kind of an old school way of doing it. But I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Pat. I'm wondering if you count like the time that it takes for like the loading screens, like if that's counted in the runs or not.
So that's a great question to bounce off the previous one, because it depends on your community. Specifically, Luigi's Mansion 3, we do keep the timer running during runs, because the main reason, or at least my main reason, is everyone playing Luigi's Mansion 3 is on the same hardware. As for The Witcher 3, which is on the PC, or primarily on the PC, we pause our timers during loading screens, and we have a little script that does it for us. So I don't have to do any coding or any of that. The timer, we just plug it into LiveSplit, and it'll pause during loading screens. And the great thing with that is everyone has different hardware, so things load quicker or slower depending on what you have. And so it really depends on your community and how it goes about that. But those are two communities that I'm experienced with, where we do allow loading screens as part of the time, and the other one we don't.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Adam. I was just wondering, do people speedrun co-op games?
Yes, great question. I was actually talking about this before I came up here, and I wanted to add a slide on it. But yes, people do. Luigi's Mansion 3, it can be co-op, and I have done co-op runs with my significant other, just for fun. We're not on the leaderboards or anything, but we could beat it in about 3 hours. But yes, people do. Specifically, Stardew Valley has a very good co-op speedrunning community where people just do things together. But again, you could always just do couch co-op or online co-op. But yes, people do.
Thank you.
Oh, great questions. Very good questions.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Anju. I usually speedruns, and I wanted to know, like, if you have any tips for me under frustration because sometimes I'm speedrunning. I make some mistake, it ruins my speedrun. I get frustrated, I try again, and I lose again, and that makes me more frustration. And I wanted to know, like, is there some tip that you could give me to help it?
Yeah, so my experiences with The Witcher, and some of those bosses are a nightmare, to say the least. What I'd do is, if possible, I know it could be tough on some consoles, but it's to save right before the fight and just do it casually, just kind of figure it out, see what happens, and then reload, and then just practice that one section you're stuck on, just to practice. There's always just get up, stretch, drink some water, and relax. I mean, if you're speedrunning for fun, try to keep it for fun. If you do want to be competitive, then be competitive, but be mindful. It's great that it's asynchronous, so you can do it at your own pace, at your own time, whenever you want to be competitive. But just take a break, stretch, come back to it, and relax, or just practice that one specific section. I know a lot of us, specifically in The Witcher 3, the first 6 minutes I fight 4 bosses, and if I mess up on one of them, I restart the same 6 minutes. And I mean, the bosses are hard, so it's kind of tough. But I'll just take a break, or I'll practice some different section. But I do have loads at each boss just to practice or de-rust. But again, with marathon runs, it's sometimes nice just to run the game and just continue with the mistakes. It is sometimes hard, and as runners we are pressured just to push the reset button and keep going, or try again. But just keep going is sometimes just nice to do, and just say it's in the past now. I'm done with that part. Thankfully, I just don't have to do it anymore. And then you keep going. But again, always just do it for fun. If it's for fun, and if it's competitive, gaming and esports is a very mental sport. So just take a mental break or something like that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I know this may come off the deep end of sounding redundancy, but I was just wondering what would be like the moral message you could give someone who's new to speedrunning, because I often get brought up all the time, they just don't see the point of speedrunning, and I try to throw it at them, here's why I do this and this and that. It's fun, and it's a good way to improve your reflexes and improve the replayability of a game, but oftentimes I always miss the nose of that extra little spark or edge to give them the morale boost to start speedrunning. So I guess my question is, what do you think would help newcomers who are enthralled by speedruns but don't have the confidence to do them themselves?
Okay, so I have a good friend who recently told me he has no idea why I speedrun The Witcher 3. He finds it useless, and for some games where you just go out of bounds and continue going through, you essentially break the game and you don't have any more skill to actually play the game as it's intended. So it depends on their perspective and feedback. But to really start, it took me a while on how to start speedrunning, because I first started with several other games, and they just weren't for me. For someone who just wants to start speedrunning, just chat. I know in The Witcher 3, we recently had someone who just chat in the community, get a feel of it, and just start talking with the community. I know with the pandemic and everything, it's just been tough on everyone. And so I'd say just start chatting with the community, see how nice people are. Again, many of these people have played the game casually multiple times, and just have done it multiple times. And we even have a runner who, for Heart of Stone, he does a cutscene %. And a cutscene % is essentially you run the game, but every dialogue option at the end, every cutscene, you let it play out. And so you play the game really quick, cutscene, you just relax, listen to everything. So that's something fun you could do, something new. But to get started, there's tons of resources, there's tons of people, which is really good to just start building relationships. Again, I mentioned my friend Boostmaster in France. He's a great buddy that we just bounce ideas off now, and I would have never met him through speedrunning. So I hope that answers your question.
It did, thanks. I got some insight.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Andre. You didn't mention this in your presentation, but I was wondering how tool-assisted speedruns can help find some time-cutting methods or find glitches and whatnot.
Yeah, so a tool-assisted speedrun, or TAS, for those of you who may not know, they're essentially a robot or AI that will do the speedrun for you. A lot of TASes, I have a friend in the Mario community who loves doing TASes, and that's just what he does. That's his thing. He does TASes for Mario, Super Mario. And what he has learned, he learns tips and tricks, and he gets to get a lot of insightful information with a lot of frame perfect and very specific niche skips and glitches that happen. Especially with the tool-assisted speedrun, people just learn how to. You essentially learn and get a feel of the game, and then with a tool, you could really nitty-gritty, like put pinpoints in specific things that humans can't do, because I can't do a frame-perfect jump like 24/7 every time, but a machine can, potentially. And so it really helps in that scene to learn those very little pinpointed parts that people may not know about. And I know there's stories that there is a glitch that isn't available or isn't achievable by a human, but people try it and people do accomplish it. I think a good specific example is Celeste, because Celeste has learned a ton about their tool-assisted speedrun on how to improve themselves. And so I'm sure if you Google it or enter that community, the taskers will love to just chat about it. But I hope that answers your question.
It did. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Thomas, and what do you think about speedrunning and content creation as far as like being like a YouTuber and posting like consistent like videos and stuff like that, and how those two worlds can like kind of come together?
Awesome. That's a good question. I know that's what a lot of people see are content creators speedrunning. And to get started, if you've practiced and started getting speedrunning and you want to really start streaming or developing YouTube videos, OBS is great for recording. DaVinci Resolve is great for video editing, and that's a free software as well. And just being consistent. That's always what I've been told, and that's what I've seen. As long as you're consistent, people enjoy consistency so much, and they get an understanding. And you set a standard for yourself, just saying 1, 2, 3, this is what happens, whether it's bi-weekly, monthly, every day. Being consistent is nice, and specifically with speedrunning, because the community is so tight, because everyone knows each other to a certain degree, they would love to just watch. Because again, speedrunning The Witcher 3 is not easy. It's long to do. So when someone actually starts being consistent, more or less the entire community will get together to watch, because it's not something you don't see practice all the time. You see a lot of the big events on GDQ, but it's a good way to get started, just being consistent and letting people know, especially those who are interested in watching.
Thank you.
Hi. So I think speedrunning is super great. It's really entertaining when you see something, really unusual, for example, on like a YouTube clip or something, wow, this person's doing something hasn't been done before. But, I'm trying to figure out, if you're just trying to play a game a little bit faster, skip the cutscenes a little bit faster, that's pretty low value content for the speedrunning community, right? Like, I feel like if you're trying to become a speedrunner, shouldn't you really only start uploading things to YouTube, start streaming, if you have something very unique to bring to the table, an unusual idea, or is literally just oh yeah, I'm gonna try doing this a little bit faster, is that interesting enough for the speedrunning community?
I would say yes, primarily because you honestly don't see practices a lot. You really don't. And so a lot of people do it at home when they have free time. A lot of people work or just have to cook and just errands and stuff. So it's tough to just sit down and see practice or see when people actually do a run or practice a run. I know I've opened up some streams where I'm literally just jumping up against the wall, just trying to figure out stuff. And people just sit and watch and be like, oh, what are you trying again? Puzzle, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get through this wall. And they're like, that is a wall. I'm like, I'm still trying to get through it, see what happens. So people will just watch. People just have lives, and so it's really nice when you're very interested and invested in something, and someone else is uploading content for it.
Gotcha.
So-
All speedrunning content is valuable and interesting. Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know why people will watch me bash my head up against the wall for 30 minutes to an hour sometimes, but they do.
Yep.
It just wants to sleep. It'll get up eventually. There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, go on.
Hi, I'm Matt. One thing about your presentation, you threw around a lot of words like a randomizer, bingo, stuff like that. But I understand because of time, you don't have time to show examples of each and every one of them. Do you have any, let's say, Twitch streams, YouTube channels that you could plug that would give people examples of a lot of these terms, maybe in like one single place or something like that?
Man, that's actually a bit tough, so specifically for randomizers and bingos and kind of the offshoot than just speedrunning to the end of the goal. Primarily because it's fairly new. GDQ will showcase those runs and showcase some of those, but now a really cool community maybe would be crowd control. And crowd control is it's a community that has built a tool where, and this could go for content creators as well, but it's a tool where like Twitch chat will go ahead and I guess donate $1 or say something, and the tool will get what Twitch chat says and modify your game accordingly. So they may know more about bingos and randomizers.
An acquaintance of mine does Celeste crowd control, and
Awesome.
some of his viewers are very good at putting things in at just the wrong time.
Yes, yep, exactly. But it's kind of hard to get the offshoot things because those are fairly new. So I'd say crowd control and GDQ. So, cool. Awesome. Well, it looks like we're just about at time. So this is a perfect ending to the presentation. And thank you everyone for coming to speedrunning. The only enemy is the clock.
That's my man going down. That's my man going down. That's my man throwing down.
a second, and that's the question. Play it brash and reckless, or choose a cautious solution you thought was prudent. In any sepulcher, pulchritude will become the putrid. It's that wealth that I'm pursuing. No mountain too steep or dungeon too deep to send expended remarks up to the top of the peak or beneath. They see you bleed, they come like sharks to it, while I swim in that money bin like Karl Barks drew it. So send your national parks druid, I'll send them home in a natural box with a closed top and most of the parts included. Save your breath for a cleric confessor. Death is a lesson and life is a tenured professor. But if you're seeking my official advice, sign on the dotted line and initial it twice.
Oh, PAX West, what a pleasure it is to spend this time with you. I am so many people. I contain multitudes. I forget how the show starts. Cool.
We'll get there.
Let's see. Hello, I'm Tycho Brahe of Penny Arcade and PAX. I'm also Amenethus Hereward Drawn, CEO of Acquisitions Incorporated. But today, I'm Jerriford K. Horcrims, your internet friend, and I'm here to run a advice panel, indeed a better advice panel, for my friends, specifically these friends. Now, of course, they have multiple polarities, and so we have to go down the whole row twice. But we'll do the first one first, introducing the C team. To my right, Dragonborn Nara Chichisto.
Sounds pronounced.
Dinar Blitzen.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
To the right of my right, repping, you got him ready? To the right of my right, I'm leaning down, but for no particular reason.
It's more your thing than mine now.
Yeah.
It's a secret. Yeah.
Hang on, I gotta get low. Repping the natural world, Walnut Don Grass Cacra!
Fly, my pretties.
To my left, not your grandma's grandma, except in those rare cases where she is your grandma's grandma, Rosie B. Stinger.
Oh. Ooh.
Wow, celebratory. We'll see if they have a mop. To the left of my left, emerging as though from a mist shroud, Chris Drow.
Whoa, what? For you? Some for the back.
All right, now, let's start back over.
What?
I know. Introducing the collections agency.
Oh, God, we got to do this twice?
Yeah, I know. Here it comes. It's the Owlboy turn a scowl to joy. It's still.
What you think?
Yeah.
Right.
Once more with feelings, it is Prism.
Just crank it on that microphone.
Now, to my left, it's been 1 week since we have seen Yitzbin Attende.
What does Dinar do?
And clap. Sometimes we do this. And then kiss my elbow.
This, some of that, yeah.
It's hard to nail down.
You stuck me with it. All right, let's see what I can do.
More like thirst from the quiver. It's first from the quiver. Poke!
Shoot it.
Wow. Now, it should be firmly established that the Shadow Chancellor, who typically operates this panel, has given it to me as a sacred trust. But that doesn't mean that she hasn't been working tirelessly to get you Idle Champions codes, which we still have. It is something called Bright Swords and Idle Champions. That's what you need to know. This event introduces the swashbuckling pirate Corazon de Bolena and welcomes back Lazops and Turiel. Unlock Evelyn Marthane, my occasional crush, and 3 gold Evelyn chests with the code seen on the screen. Now, oh, there you go, Okay, I was like, well, there would be a code in a better universe than the one that we have, but it turns out we do live in that universe.
The code spells Ac Inc. Evelyn.
No, it doesn't. No, it spells Aki Ensev Elin. It sounds like a spell of binding.
This panel.
Now, because it's Alyssa, I also have an outro section here, so prepare yourselves emotionally, spiritually for that. But in the meantime, I also have you really hooked her up on this one. We could do this panel for the next 4 hours. If they didn't come in and sweep us out like trash in the space of an hour. Beloved friends, let's get right into it. Dear C Team, I am an intern at a competitive adventuring company. Okay, next question. No, I'll read the rest of it just to be polite. We have a very high turnover rate. I assume they mean the baked good. We have been talking about unionizing, and our boss keeps threatening to replace us if we do. How do I convince my boss that our collectivization is good for his business overall? Sincerely, Mark from Carl's Place. I guess that makes sense. So do you have any positions on this moral ill?
I guess we should establish who we're talking as, right?
Yes. Well, no.
That's where the accents come in.
Yeah.
What accent?
Now, I mean, I see this one seems like it is addressed specifically to the CT, so that should help us earn our polarity. Now,
Great.
if one of your other multitudes wants to comment.
This is like very seance-like.
Yeah, it is. No, gather together.
Who's here with me tonight?
We need to make a psychic circuit that seizes ghosts.
Hello, I'm Walnut.
Hi.
You should kill your boss.
Well, I mean, and this is the thing. I think this is one of the things that makes Acquisitions Incorporated such an incredible place to work. You can kill your boss multiple times.
That's a perk.
It's a perk.
That was a signing bonus.
Not for me, but
Yeah.
it is definitely a perk for some.
Yeah.
It differentiates us in a crowded marketplace.
How do you feel about unionization, Omen? Careful.
Now, when you say unionization, do you mean grinding all employees into a uniform slurry? In one of our testing programs.
I think that is what that means.
That's homogenization.
Yeah, I guess
A little
that's
different. Yeah.
Talking about marriage, right?
I don't
The
think so.
ultimate union.
Maybe if it could be demonstrated to the boss that it's of value by allowing the bosses to unionize as well. A union of one.
Sell it to me.
The boss gets to also be a union. and the boss also gets to go on strike when things don't go the boss's way.
Okay. Now you're talking.
So you've got two parties now striking, and the business successful as a no, I don't.
It started out strong.
Yeah.
And then it became an undifferentiated paste, which was my original idea. Is there any more comments on this hateful concept? No?
No, let's
Look at me.
Number 2, dear Cathris, I am also old and frail. Hey now. He doesn't look a day over 600. And trying to reinvent myself. I have tried for some years now, but with much difficulty. I am thinking a lack of focus might be to blame. So, my question to you, where did you find your focus? Like in the Underdark or some such place, but I need better directions. Help me out. I feel my life essence draining as I write. Oh, so there's definitely a time pressure on this one.
I mean, I would say that pressure right there can inspire one to, change things up in one's life. Maybe what you need is not a focus, but a refocus. Come back to center on what's important to you before the time runs out. And I'm assuming the life essence draining references maybe blood. Again, very convenient for a writing system that I'm well familiar with. Was this translated, or was this actually presented? Do we know if they may have died as
I was
they
just
wrote
going to
it?
say, I mean, I think that we have to assume that this person is already gone.
Well, this advice holds for anybody. If you can find a black altar beneath the earth, I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah. For so many reasons.
Yeah, incredible.
Now, 3.
Best of luck.
Indeed. Dear Prism. All right, so.
Yeah.
Game face. I am a new bard, fresh from my studies, and I have been eager to learn how to bring my performance up a few notches. I really want to impress my audience. Sounds like competition, Prism. I mean, that's...
Finish the question.
I really want to impress my audience and up my musical game to the next level. Do you know of any way I could get into contact with Brahma Ludier?
Oh.
Sincerely, Vinny, she, her from the Underdark.
Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
These
Yeah, so
Oh,
just
no.
processing this, using me as a go-between between Brahma. I don't know why that would happen. She's
Brahma,
not-
your teacher, yes?
No,
You learn from Brahma.
no.
You didn't.
Why would you think that I learned from Brahma? She's like so, just like, you know, like just her whole thing. Like when you think about her, you don't just like. I don't know what anyone would see in her, honestly.
I have not met her, but she sounds awful.
Insufferable? I know, yes. Agreed. So what advice would I give them? Yeah, lose my number.
Now, number 4, dear C team, how do you choose a best friend? Sincerely, Vertex, the gelatinous cube from the Doomgate Inn, with the callback.
Vertex.
With the callback.
Hey, buddy.
So what's the rubric for friend selection? What's the system?
The question is to the C team, as written by Vertex.
Indeed.
Yes?
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, but in a way, don't we have the question asker with us?
I didn't write that question.
All right, but you could like play in the space, you know? You know what I mean?
I got a lot going on right now.
I can't just do that funny voice from 3 years ago anytime you want it.
You know, if I start doing it, he'll take it out of spite.
He won't be able to help
I
himself.
heard you do it better than him.
That's not true. You know that goddamn well that's a lie.
Oh my
It's a
God.
hard,
That did not take
hard-
long at all.
Hard voice to do in a mask. Very flebby voice.
Vertex, sweetie, I think we would choose a best friend slightly differently from the way that you might choose a best friend, but in some ways they can overlap. Like if I were in your situation, I would pick my best friend by whoever I could slurp up first.
I tend to go with a size-based metric. The bigger the better, I find.
I couldn't agree more.
I like to get big friends in me as fast as possible. Agree? Would you agree or disagree?
We have a lot more in common than I thought.
Hard agree. Hard agree.
It is, if I may interject,
You may not.
I think that, on occasion, you do not choose your friend. Sometimes you just have, they absorb you, they run across you, and you are now in their life, and you live there, you're stuck within them.
Honey, I love you, but I cannot understand a word you're saying. You gotta speak up.
I got none of that. Speak English. Speak common.
I was speaking English. What are you talking about, huh? I have been speaking English this whole time.
That can't be right.
Yes.
See?
No, I don't.
He gets it.
Right, now, Walnut, what is your best friend system?
I'm not familiar with. What?
You haven't read a pamphlet of some kind? I mean, you're so well known, so well loved across the realms, certainly by beasts and birds.
Yes, but the concept of ranking friend as best seems, I don't know, seems like city talk.
The happiest I've ever seen Walnut was surrounded by squirrels that were not paying any attention to her. So maybe that's best friendship?
Yeah, you know when like you like someone and they just leave you alone for a really long time and you don't talk for like 10 to 100 years? That's mwah.
I would say perhaps a best friend would be someone who was willing to carry your deity for you for a time. That probably put some checks in that column.
I was under the understanding that that type of person transcends friendship and becomes family.
Back to you, Cthulhu.
The mask of many faces, again, just wetness emerging here. But this is just blank smile. Agreed.
Selectively wet. Number 5, Dear Dinar, you have been called the Gordon Ramsay of Red Larch.
That's true.
Tell me what the appropriate response should be to the following situation. I ordered a dozen Blackford-style chicken wings at the local Zaxby's.
Oh, that's your first mistake.
Yeah. They get you coming and going.
I mean, there is a competing vendor. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
When I received them, they were room temperature. I mean, in that case, you just sit on them, I think. I mean, it warms them right up. I returned to the store and asked for a replacement. They gave me hot Blackford wings, but there were only 8. It seems they cannot measure temperature, and also they can't count. What other option is there aside from devouring the manager? Sincerely, Gra-ah-woo-oo-oo, the uplifted owlbear from Absalom Station.
What I would do is to leave them just the worst Yelp review you can. So go outside the venue and just start shrieking. Yes. Sucks! It sucks in here. That's what I do.
Does that happen a lot at the Yum Yum Hut, or?
No. Maybe, I don't know.
Not for very long.
Yeah.
They have a dedicated employee for these reviews, I think. Dear Yitzbin, what did you do to get the theater named after you? And how does everyone feel about not having an owl, cat, and mood theater? Sincerely, Kirtree from Portland Rain World.
Theater not named Yitzbin, theater named Horse. It's very sad. Thank you for your sympathy. It's reductive. If this theater named Cat, you'll be.
That is unacceptable.
It will
I'm not cat. You may be horse, a little bit. You can understand. You understand the mistake of this person. They believe that maybe they only see from the back. And they have named a theater after a favorite horse rump that they have perceived. And this is actually a great compliment. Perhaps.
Board. What if this called board theater? You enjoy?
A board theater? Oh, I wouldn't.
No,
that seems fine.
No, board.
She is trying to
like a wooden board. Yeah, that's
trying to pronounce Bered.
Oh, well, she's doing a very bad job.
Board.
Bered.
Board.
Bered.
Boar, like a pig. Well, that wouldn't be offensive to me at all. Prism?
Oh, I just wouldn't like it if it was named after a boar. Yuck, no. Well, if it was named after me, it certainly wouldn't be a bored room. It would be a very excited room, obviously. And also, I think calling it horse theater, like, partial credit, right? Like, at least a little bit.
I suppose if they only see me from back, it's understandable. I like.
I just want to say, I think it was a mistake to not bring dice. There is some tension happening.
No, you can do a number generator app on the phone.
There you go.
Yell a number.
The amount of content you were able to generate out of that question was very surprising. Number 7, dear C-Team, our ruling class has begun sacrificing the citizenry to their god. Okay, and it appears, ease up. And it appears they are determined to pick up the pace. What is the best way to dispose of our despots before I'm next on the list? Sincerely, Grim from the Merchants Guild.
Has this person considered the god's needs? It seems like a very selfish way to phrase this.
You're saying there's really three parties here.
Yeah.
I have to go back to my earlier point. Our ruling class is sacrificing people. If you had just killed your boss back in question, what, 2, this would not have happened.
It is a slippery slope.
Maybe it's not the rule. Maybe this just is like a personal disagreement. It's just like, oh, it hasn't rained in a while. Fuck Jeff, let's get Jeff. It's like, whoa, what's that have to do with the weather? Yeah, I heard he hates weather. It's like, I think you got something against Jeff.
Maybe this person is just not liked by anyone. It may not even be a sacrifice scenario. They just want to kill him because he's unlikable, and they've put a nice face on it of saying like, well, we're feeding a god. You know how it is.
It's a PR thing, basically.
It's really,
ultimately.
it's just messaging.
I gotta recognize the game, certainly.
This is a big problem with theism in general, I think. Like, you have a god, and before you know it, people are getting fed to some great maw in the ground because nobody likes Jeff.
That tracks. Tracks with my experiences.
Yeah. Man, there's no backing out of that. I was like racking my brain. I'm like, no, there's, yeah, all right.
You're going back through, you're riffling through all the Jeffs. You're like, wow.
Yeah, all Jeff, sorry.
Yep. The Jeff continuum, really. 8, Dear Omens, do you each draw a salary, or do you share one salary? Also, how do clones affect your taxes? Do you file individually or jointly with dependents? Sincerely, this is from Irwin at Waterdeep Tax Collections. An individual I have had no small amount of interactions with. The main thing that you have to understand is the tax benefits of cloning really do speak for themselves. That was more or less the founding principle behind the scheme. Now, we all do draw individual salaries, and they are not insignificant. That's part of the contract that we signed with each other. What I will say is that there is some complexity. Where the complexity comes in on the clone issue, because of the unique make of our manufacture, if, let's say, for example, if one of us sells their soul, or a partial share, a tranche of their soul, to Asmodeus, just as an example, the Asmodean contract does not provide any spiritual or tax benefits. Let me be quite clear on this. It is, in fact, a multiplier. So as a practical matter, Asmodeus owns more than 100% of each of our souls, and it has been a problem.
Seems like a...
I want to talk about the business implications of that one.
Yeah,
Asmodeus just start cloning people.
All I can say is there's going to be some changes in the mess hall. There's a lot more hell items on the menu.
I'm surprised one of the omens hasn't, like, Zuckerberg the rest of the omens, you know what I mean? Diluted their souls, shares.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the season's not over.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 9, Dear C Team, I like to feed the birds. But there is one that hoards all the peanuts and attacks other birds that come near. If I try to shoo it away, all the birds fly off. What should I do? Sincerely, Crowgrammer from Seattle. That's a delightful image.
Aim and shoot, you know?
That's a good name, Crowgrammer. That's pretty funny.
It's pretty good.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
Well, they're local. I mean,
yeah,
we could meet them.
You know what? I take it back. I take it back. Walnut, you can elaborate more on this, but I have heard that anything you do to a crow, they will remember for generations beyond your lifespan. So, like, maybe don't shoot the crows.
No, don't shoot the crows. But what the question was that one crow was taking everything from the other crows? You know, this is an easy problem. The crows will remember if you do something to them for generations, unless it's lethal to one of them.
Unless it's lethal to all of them, I suppose.
No, you're just, one of them's eating all of the, you just take care of that one bird. Look, I have a lot of experience in very annoying birds. Singular one at this point.
We We don't know. We don't know if this bird is eating them all. It just says that they're hoarding them all.
Hoarding is the next step to eating.
It's a slippery slope.
I have eaten none of the funds that were trusted to me as the hoards person.
Right.
This may be a bird adventuring company, and the others are not restrained enough. They're just trying to get that cash. But there's a system, and it has to go through payments, has to go back through their program, and then I'm sure that the peanuts would be dispersed fairly afterward. I'm just throwing this out there.
Got invoice, net 90,
Mm-hmm.
get that.
Net
You can't
never.
just eat them. That's under the table.
This sounds like a lot of hoard apologism.
Yes, it is.
This feels like another flavor of the human sacrifice question.
Yeah.
Maybe the peanuts are sacrificing other peanuts to the one crow. Maybe that crow's their god. Have we considered the peanuts' feelings in all this?
You're right, there's 3 parties here.
There is 3 parties here.
Exactly. Well, there is actually a Crow franchise of Acquisitions Incorporated in Red Larch, also called the C Team.
Oh, there you are.
I thought that was real. I was like, oh, shut up about all this. Tell me that.
Yeah, that sounds like a great comic, doesn't it?
You just tipped your hand in the show after the C Team ends.
Or kick-ass.
We all play crows.
Or kick-ass
Identical
birds.
crows.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
That's the ultimate branding play. 10, Dear Collections Agency, I am visiting the mysterious land of Seattle, a land I hear you are familiar with. Where is the best place to go for donuts? How about ramen? Rando hungry guy in front of y'all.
Hungry guy, you here? Oh, this one.
That's right. I like food. What do you want?
Seattle is a city, no?
Yeah, city-like, yeah. Sure.
Thorpe.
Walkable.
Okay, well,
Trottable.
I am not sure what donut or ramen is. So I cannot help. I'm putting this entirely on the rest of you.
Fascinating.
I see. The donut is like a small cake that I have shot. The center of cake is not there.
Why you shooting cake?
Practice. Easy to throw into the air.
Fair enough.
So I would say eat the cake, but watch out for the arrow.
Content.
I have nothing good to say about any of Seattle's most here-iest eateries. I don't know. You know, there's a bang-up cheesecake factory across the way.
That's incisive political commentary.
This bitch in the Cheesecake Factory.
Look, it's there. It's convenient. And when it's 1 o'clock, Cheesecake Factory's there for you. It's got a big menu. No one's ever going to be disappointed. They can find something.
21 pages of a menu.
Yeah. Look, you've heard of a number of flavors. This is a number of pages, and it's insane.
What did you call it the other day? Seattle's most there eatery?
Yeah.
We still could have been in fiction until you talk about the text. No comment.
I once took because my mom's like, oh, Cheesecake Factory, and it's like, whatever you want, Mom. You gave me life. And so I went there with her, and
now we're even.
No, exactly. Straight across.
There we go. When you're here, your family.
I ordered something. I don't even remember what it was. I could not see it underneath the frizzled onions. I would have needed climbing gear to eat this fucking thing.
Yeah.
When it came, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know how I was supposed to fucking interact with it.
I feel like you could say any 3 food words and it's on that menu. Like, you don't even have to look at it. Roasted, rigatoni,
ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I got it.
Probably.
Roasted?
I'm not done with the Cheesecake Factory.
They'll say,
We can,
Tight
look,
five.
I got a tight 5 minutes on the Cheesecake Factory, and I've been waiting to test it out. Hey, ever hear about this Cheesecake Factory?
You get a tight 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, but for real, the ramen place up on Cap Hill called Kazuki Ramen is very true. I've seen a lot of nodding here in the audience. It's a like a 10-minute walk up the hill.
No, go all the way to Ballard. It's 30 minutes away and go to Arashi Ramen. I love
Rashi's
him.
also very good.
I am also a proponent of Arashi Ramen, but if you're in Ballard, you can hit Arashi Ramen, and then you can go to Mock's Boarding House and check out our coolest local game shop.
That's true. That's true.
It's true. Post Malone went there, and so that's how you know
And then
it's
you
cool.
and then after that you
Putting
can,
out classics.
yeah, and then you can completely swear off Seattle Donuts. And you can go to Cupcake Royale instead, which is also there. So now we have a little triangle. I see you typing this information in.
Yeah.
Now you've got a really solid triangle there. And then you can eat, and then after you've had the ramen, you can have some pho at Tan Brothers because they've got the cream puff, right? I have eaten 3 lunches before in Ballard. I know that's a surprise to you.
I got bok bok on the brain. I had that for dinner last night, and I've been thinking about it all day today.
Good.
Bok bok is good. I know that you didn't ask about chicken, but there's a chicken place around here called Bok Bok.
It works.
So good.
Bok Bok works. Anyway, so that's, I mean, obviously it's OOC, right? But I mean, this is the real information that
No,
you need.
this is in character. Hong Kong Bistro and ID changed my life.
Oh, man. Well, you should also, they have a really great hot dog in the international, sorry.
Oh, I know.
Oh, they have a hot dog. It's like a corn dog, but it's like fried with French fries on it. And then half of the corn dog is hot dog, and then the other half is literally a block of cheddar. Fried. I went there, and they were like, "Do you want us to put sugar on the corn dog?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I
obviously.
said no like an idiot. I see now that sugar must go on everything, but they really want to put it on your fried fucking cheddar.
There's a reason then, you know?
Yeah, now I can go back and experience it for the first time. And it's right by International Model Toys. You can get some Gundam while you're there. All right, next question. Next question.
Where did we go just now?
To the International District. You can also stop by Jade Garden and have a 3rd or 4th lunch. Sorry.
Oh, lunch. Oh.
Awajimaya also.
Did you validate parking? Oh, sorry, I'm so hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't it sound good? Pork shumai. Sorry. Sorry. I'm done. I'm sorry.
He's not.
I'm not done. Dear C Team, out of all the NPCs not pretty commoners you have met during your time as C Team franchise owners, who has been your favorite? Sincerely, Melvidian. Probably Whiffmid, that classically, incredibly named character that I didn't name at the moment.
Oh, just perfect.
It's better than some of yours.
Yeah.
Some of those stinkers.
I mean, eventually I had to standardize on Fantasy Steve, and then we were good.
Yeah. Oh, you know who my favorite is Tony Cereal.
Not the talking fern?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's good too. Yeah.
Wait, what was the mouse on the ship? Hop Pop? Hip Pop? Pop?
It was Pop Pop, right?
Oh, Pop,
Yeah.
Pop. Oh, you're right. He was not on the ship.
Hop,
yes.
hop.
I just remember a really joyful mouse and us being like, and nothing bad happened to him ever.
In space.
In space.
Yeah, I like Oak. I like Oak True Strike
Why would
for
you
a
say
number
that?
of reasons. One, just like the human epitome of Axe body spray.
Yeah.
Right? But,
Yeah.
but like all of the flavors at once.
Yeah.
Swagger Bomb specifically.
And I like that he became a hairy little basketball.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's a good character arc.
No, that was funny. And Trevor's great. Trevor's a classic.
Trevor's
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to go. I'm trying
Trevor's
to
like the easy answer, yeah.
Yeah, you're playing the hits, man. We got to do deep cuts.
Biscuit.
Oh, I think. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh no.
I think the one that that opened the game up. Well, hold on. Are we in character? Because I'm not in character currently.
Ah.
Eh.
A little bit of,
Was I had so much fun with Pragma Cleft.
oh,
I had
with,
so much fun with the soprano.
with Soprano?
Yeah.
Well, and it culminates in like a wedding up there, and there's like these
Incredible.
boring franchises.
Someone, and I don't know if this person is here or watching, but someone did send Jerry a statue of an ass at one point.
No, in fact, when I'm streaming from the studio, if you look behind me, it's like up and to the
That's
right.
all I ever
you
look
can
at.
still see the butt right there.
Yeah.
I know.
Is it stone? Is it not stone?
Is it not stone? Is our butts not stone?
I think
Some
it's
butts
heavy,
are.
right? It's sexual.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Something.
It's real.
Damn.
I know.
Hey, what's it like? Question from the audience. What's it like when you make something and then someone just sends you a hunk of marble shaped like an ass? Like that's an echelon you've reached, right?
Yeah, that's your life, dude.
But we have the people, like, we're blessed with a very high quality. This is like when you go to a place and you're like, hello, Cleveland. But we're blessed to have a really incredible audience that is willing to put up with us for the most part. And when I say us, I mean me.
It's mostly you.
I mean, I've seen the Horcrumisms Twitter account, and I don't remember saying any of those things.
I will say last night at dinner, Kate and I were getting sushi together, and just a plate of fish showed up, and we go, have you ever seen a crab? Have you ever seen a crab? You ever seen a crab? That's you, bud.
I'm not proud of it. It's just true, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that people don't, choke me to death when they see me. I mean, that's pretty universal, I think. Now, there is another item here, but it has a very specific note attached to it, if you would be so kind.
Kate, to read this in Yitzbin voice. Dear C-Team, hello. I have exiled friend who need male friend, preferably four-legged. Is not for me, is for friends. Heard Rosie Beestinger, exceptional matchmaker and star crosser. Help, please? Signed, Blitzbin Blatende. From up the stairs, which I cannot walk down.
Wow, who wrote that?
It's always great to get a question from a new fan, right? The brand is always expanding.
Oh, Blitzbin Blatende sounds very sexy in many ways, many good qualities to offer to four-legged male friend. I did not submit this question.
But you got a grip on it, and I appreciate that.
Has anyone heard of, I've heard Rosie name. I don't know, it says C-Team. I don't know who I am talking to about this. Whoever would like to make joke.
I think they wanted Yitzbin to ask this to the originals.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
then Rosie would have to answer Yitzbin's question.
Oh my God.
Get there, baby.
It's sophisticated.
I'm
Oh
gonna
my
take-
God.
It's a mental Rubik's Cube.
I hate you, whoever did that.
It's like, what if you want to write a fan fiction, but you'd like to have someone else write it for you, and then that's the situation.
Shut up, I got this. Okay, so, I mean, tell me what you're looking for. And is not me, is friend, obviously. It's friend in question, friend of friend. But obviously looking for male, 4 legs, preferably strong, not too magical, probably. It's not in question, but all right, okay. No, I got you. I see where you're coming from. So if this friend were to meet a 4-legged creature that, didn't have, let's say, a human face, would that still do anything for you? Question is not specific, so. Perhaps he not require human face. Is not me. I have my question, my preferences. If it were me, but it is not me, so I cannot specify that human face would be preferable. Okay, all right, I'm reading between the lines here. Okay, I got you. Who do I know? 4-legged. I feel like there are some folks at the Doomgate Inn who would love to have a conversation with you. Now, human face, I don't know if I can guarantee, but I think we can get started on some stuff. There is a guy who's like very good insect head, but a charmer. I think your friend might really enjoy. All right, they give directions to this inn, and my friend will be making her way there. Or He's weak. It's not clear what gender of Blitz bin Blatende. Thank you.
Wow. Kate, wow. Wow. Give me more questions like this. I'm happy to watch the one-woman show over here. That was crazy.
What the heck?
One night only.
Off the top of your head?
Just right off the
Switching between voices and personalities? Oh my God.
Right off the dome.
That was amazing.
We got to have you run the Acquisitions Incorporated sometime.
Yeah, one of these days.
Hey. Word of warning, don't even try that shit with me, all right? 'Cause you will not get anything out of me like that.
I thought you were going to be sweet and say that Kate nailed it on Ack Inc., which she did.
I did say that. I said
yeah,
that
but like
already.
loud into the microphone. It's on
I
Fox
did
now.
say it. I said it in private where no one could hear.
Yeah. There's no proof. But
You
say
did
it.
great. You know you did great. You're great. Kate's great. Hey, let's hear it for Kate, everybody. Kate, 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 Kate.
Dear C-Team, do you know a good cure for nightmares? Sincerely, Brittle, the orphan from the lighthouse.
That's a good one.
Uh-oh.
It's getting dark.
Well, I'll take this one. I think we all know from experience that the only place to hide from horror is in the heart of horror. So I would encourage more nightmares. Soon you will grow old, and the nightmares will change into mundane ones. But this time of youth you get some very interesting ones that can have a profound effect. I would take advantage of them. Because eventually you have nightmares about not making it to a meeting on time. This is truly the golden era of nightmares. Take advantage of those salad days.
Of terror.
Oh, just thinking about it.
Now, someone can jog my memory. It's your fault that Brittle is having nightmares in the first place, right?
The only thing.
Fault is a strong word.
The only thing that I may have affected is the tenor of the nightmares. Yeah, you can't say that children don't have nightmares before I show
Oh, no,
up.
of course. But you do exacerbate them when you arrive.
If it serves our goals. I don't do it for fun.
Yeah. Wasn't Brittle the one we were trying to coerce into doing something, and so we all appeared in his dreams to incept it?
Yeah, but
Isn't that what we did?
I specifically remember it was going okay until somebody really wanted to expedite the process.
Yeah. My advice is, if you're having nightmares about chicken, just do what the chicken says. Don't fight the nightmare. Acquiesce to the nightmare.
Right.
You want to turn into the skid.
Yeah, you got to turn into the skid, exactly.
Brittle the Orphan, the new big bad evil guy for C-Team season final.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. For the movie. Dear C-Team, I have recently inherited my own demi-plane of existence. It's going around.
Oh.
Following the death of a wealthy and mysterious relative. It has all the essentials: swimming pool, infinite snack bar, a convenient exit in case someone tries to trap me inside. Well, that's one thing. Any tips on how I should decorate my new space? Sincerely, ancient ally of the program, Tyrannosaurus.
Have you considered a horrific flesh/crab golem of a tender friend of yours?
Ooh.
Too expensive. Oh, interesting.
On a budget, okay.
Just the dead crab you find at the beach, then.
Hey, you ever seen one?
You ever seen a crab?
You ever
I've
seen a crab?
never seen a crab. Describe it to me.
Well,
It's like a frisbee with pinchers.
yeah.
They like that.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
unnameable.
I got a round of applause, okay.
Indescribable horror. Of course, if you go to a breeder, it's going to be expensive, but you may want to adopt a
Adopt,
crab.
don't shop, yeah.
Yeah, encourage one to
A rescue?
Yeah, a rescue crab.
Yeah.
Provide things that a crab would need, and one may arrive.
What are some things that a crab needs, Cathris?
A place to burrow.
Okay.
Materials to, what is the word?
Crab.
Carapace?
No. Like encrust its carapace with bones.
Oh, sure, bones.
And
Oh,
rib
bones.
cages.
Accretion chitin?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Salt water.
So this is how you manifest a crab? Is that?
Whoa, we're giving Jerry instructions. Do not. Do not.
Oh, geez. He's got the notepad open. Oh, no.
It's sort of like a cargo cult science of how do I get my own crab.
Yeah, exactly.
If you make a beach, you know?
And an ocean.
Yeah.
And you're halfway there.
That's pretty much, that's
gotta-
where I
You
know where
just
they come
wait for the crabs.
Is that the secret? Is that what the secret was about? Manifesting crabs.
Your inner crab.
One's inner crab. Now, dear C team, I just moved and have my own room for the first time in my life. So very similar to the last question, but mildly less cosmic. Do you have any tips for furnishing and decorating a 10 by 10 room on a budget? Sincerely, Centauri Hellbender from San Francisco, that faraway land.
Crabs, I think.
Yeah. Smaller this time.
Yeah.
It's only 10 by 10, so you want to go for a hermit crab, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, this is about volume, like, what is it? Quantity, not quality. Any dried up, desiccated crab, get them in there.
When you have your own demi-plane of existence, you can get any size crab you want. But when you're talking about a 10 by 10 room here on the material, you're just going to want to fill it up with little crabs. And they're way more accessible too.
Like an inch, 2 inches deep of crab.
Yeah. You
From the
want to
floor.
be sloshing through
Yeah.
crab.
Yeah, just like
Get some waders and just,
exactly. A sluice.
Dear collections agency, self-care is so important. What is your self-care routine? Sincerely, mostly metaphor, from a damp Thorpe in the UK.
Oh, wow, we stay saying Thorpe, don't we?
Miss Prism has quite a routine.
Please, I'd be here all day if I described it all, but I will. No. I would never reveal my secrets. You do want to stay hydrated, though, This is great. A lot of humidity on the lower part of my face. I'm going to love that later. Gosh, so much rest. And what else?
You do a green tea and Pilates, and just think positive thoughts, and also lots of skin creams.
Yeah, a lot of skin cream, just kind of like taking a bath in like a, just like goop. Just kind of like slide into a vat of goop every day. That's really just like moistens things
Goop
up.
is a great name for your brand.
Really? No one would go for that. That's so fake.
Mostly for me, it is reaching around to grab what fleas and ticks I can find and feeding them to Bird. These are the ones he misses because he is inconsistent. And then once the itching has stopped, I just go to sleep. Self-care, very important.
it's not that I miss them. It's when I'm not eating your vermin and bugs that are on you, I'm eating them off everyone else.
It's disgusting.
I go through all your hair while you're sleeping.
So still, where are you getting the highest quality larvae and grubs?
Don't answer that.
No, I want to know.
You said you'd die with that secret.
It's a trade secret. I can't tell.
You heard that. Trade secret.
I was going to say that it's important to be to stay hydrated and also exfoliate, which both for me can be achieved with my tongue. So a thorough self-lick in the evening, before bed.
It has to be after 6.
I just want everybody to know, the more we learn about Still, the more I am correct that he is disgusting.
Tell that to your healthy mane. Your luxurious mane. It's silken. Dear C-Team, I have been unlucky in love lately. I know you are all masters of romance. So please, what are your tips for defeating the crushing reality of loneliness, finding companionship? Do I have to be imbued with the spirit of a long-forgotten god to get a date? Sincerely, Scarlet the Moth, from Australia, the Down Underdark. Longtime ally.
I'll let all of you take a stab at it, and then I'll give the real advice.
Warm them up.
Yeah, get the crowd rolling a little bit.
Get the crab rolling a little bit? I don't want to talk about
Get a crab roll.
Companionship. I don't know. It just kind of like happens, right? Like when you're not looking for it, then someone tells you that you're in a relationship and it's happening. And you're amenable to it, and then it ends up being great.
Oh man, I feel like you've had some travails in this area. You wanna give our sweet little moth any of your advice?
But I don't know if Moth has access to a gigantic subterranean creature.
Let's just assume that they do.
Okay, well, if they do, it's very, very straightforward at that point. You simply have to discover a way, and it may take as long as a decade, but you do have to find a way of mastering yourself. And I don't mean within. I mean, you need to get to a point where you can attack and if necessary, kill yourself as you emerge from the cloning chamber. Once there are enough of you, each one of them makes a separate dating profile. Ultimately, the apps are about surface area, and it's you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take with your 6 cloned brothers.
That's actually terrific advice. Hey, Cthulhu, do you feel like being imbued with the spirit of a long-forgotten god has increased your potential on the market?
My advice would be, it doesn't hurt. I'm not, in fact, sure what hurts or helps.
Just in general?
I just don't have enough information yet.
I see.
There are too many variables. I think that we are designed for loneliness, and companionship is a polite lie that we have fabricated in order to wish to remain on this plane of existence. But the sooner we can suspend that, we can really get down to the work of being chewed in the mouth of a great God, the best one of all, I think. And if this moth needs me to expound on that, I absolutely would love to.
Sounds like Moth has a date. Dinar, you got anything?
Find the heaviest thing you can and lift it.
And then date it.
And then date it. And then just hold it up until someone compliments you. That's a date.
The one?
That's a date.
One. Yeah, I actually can't think of anything better than all of that advice. Just mush all that up together, Moth, and it's going to work out great.
Let's see. Dear C-Team, why? Sincerely, Susanna
God
from Under
damn
the
it,
Bridge.
you have to stop doing this.
Now, therein lies a tale.
No, I watched 3 hours of this yesterday, and I love both of you, but I'm not going to do it again.
I have a limit.
No, I do want to hear it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say the question is not why, but how many? Something else to discuss with this moth.
It seems like the list of topics is growing. Dear honorable Prince of the House Blitzen, my name is Barash of the clan Diocletian, a respected clan of desert-dwelling nomadic blue dragonborn and historical ally of Jannar. I have recently started an adventure with mammals, humans, an elf, a gnome. My question is this: how do you manage interacting with these mammals every day? They are so soft and weak and not scalable. I mean, they gestate their offspring inside of them instead of the superior way of the egg. Should I just think of them as like pets? Seriously, any advice here would be great. Mammals, bleh. Sincerely, Diocletian Barash from the Anarok Desert.
No, I do find thinking of them as pets helps. I found something that helped. I look at them like they are eggs. They are like soft living squishy eggs, fragile like eggs. Also, I pack my nose with gauze every morning because they just stink.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, now you do. Since the first episode. The hints are there. If you go back and look, you'll see. Go rewatch the whole season, you'll see.
In there. It's like a, what's the movie where they're like, oh shit, it's him?
Born Supremacy.
The Prestige.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what The Usual Suspect.
Usual Suspect.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What's the movie where they're like, yeah, that's him? Obviously Usual Suspects.
What's the movie, the famous one where someone is identified?
Yeah.
In sort of a normal way.
Yeah, like they're like, oh.
Oh, hey. Oh, yeah, I got it. Dear C-Team, surprise. It's performance review time. But in this financial quarter's shocking twist, there's only one employee up for review. It's Omen. Please proceed. Sincerely, P. Ann, Opti Consulting from everywhere. This is quite irregular. This is not a vendor that, this person is, there's certainly, we should just get it over with as fast as possible.
No.
Let's drag this out.
Now let's drag it out. Oh, well, how could one review just one Omen? But certainly the one sitting in front of me is good enough. Let's see. Unwillingly cloning treasured employees.
Vital employees, Walnut, vital employees.
Sure.
Which is a compliment if you think about it.
It's not, and I won't.
No.
Any sort of nefarious crimes, manipulation, aiding and abetting capitalism in general.
Are these cons, just so I know?
You're a con.
Okay.
I found your performance to be lackluster. Does anybody here have any disagreements or anything to add to this?
We're looking for something in the pro call.
Positives, great initiative, especially with the clone thing. My only point there would be to, instead of creating false clones, which are copies and not true selves, if others could be extracted from parallel timelines, that's an actual confluence to be used. No betrayal there.
True synergy.
Precisely.
Yeah. And obviously, I'm taking notes on all of this. That's great information.
He was kind enough to bequeath a third arm to me, so that was 6 out of 10, you know?
Nice. Yeah.
How about you, Rich?
Good, not great. C+.
I appreciate the hustle of your dark business.
Thank you.
Obviously,
you would know.
I have a lot of appreciation for it, but I think where you went astray was you got soft, kid. You got soft. You started having feelings for your children. No, I'm kidding, of course. I love all of my children. But I think that, you know, depending on which clone we're talking about here, there's some redeemable qualities.
This has been my position.
I don't know that you qualify for a raise this quarter.
Well,
that's almost the same thing I was going to say. Obviously, that we should kill him.
Yeah. Well, bringing it full circle. Now, so I have a special note here, and it says, please give 5 minutes for this so you have time to discuss the Spice and Dice game at PAX Oz Online. What is the Spice and Dice game, you might ask? You might have seen a teaser during the ACK Inc. D20 pre-show for something called Spice and Dice. We're partnering with Game to Grow. It's a local company. They basically use D&D in a therapeutic context for kids on the spectrum. Super, super cool program. I've known them for a super long time. Educational and community growth, all delivered via Dungeons & Dragons, basically, as well as the creators of the new Gummy Minis, Crawl Spaces and Critters, who will be launching a Kickstarter in October to bring a spicy game of D&D to PAX Oz online. We're going to do a game for you at that time. Our own Chris Straub is going to DM Tristan, Ryan, Holly, Chris, and myself, along with Game to Gross Adam Davis, as we raise more and more money for Game to Gross efforts. We will be eating increasingly spicier versions of the gummy minis. I agreed to it, and it's something I think about a lot. Tune into the PAX Twitch channel and help us hurt ourselves. And last but not least, of course, don't forget your Evelyn 3 gold Evelyn chests and the free Idle Champion Select Room chest code, which is on the next slide that is coming up even now. Exactly. And remember the magic words. It's a sequin kapow. God only knows what elemental effects it will create. Roll on the wild magic table. Until next time, we'll see you.
Italian.
It's a clothing.
That's my man throwing down. That's my man for that.
That's a great approach, the slow trickle of energy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the tap all the way up, and I'm going to say, hello! 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 Some people prefer subs to dubs, don't they? Hello, my name is Ben Padden. My pronouns are they, them. And I am a British stand-up comedian living and working in Los Angeles. And you might know me if we're family, or if my cane falls down, or if I owe you money. Or if you've ever come up to me to tell me how much you loved Pineapple Express. It's difficult to tell because I'm wearing a mask. Some people think I look a little bit like Seth Rogen. Someone left a comment on one of my YouTube videos saying I look like Seth Rogen's kid brother. And I've never gotten over it. I mean, it's not only a scathing put down, it's just grossly inaccurate. I look nothing like this guy. Look at this is the star of Knocked Up, which is a film about how in many ways the person most affected by pregnancy is the guy who couldn't be bothered to put on a condom. It's a solidly average movie, 7.5 out of 10. Anyway, I'm more than just someone who looks like they might be related to the guy who wrote Sausage Factory. I am, in fact, an expert in the field of video gameonomy. Now, this is not to be confused with video gameology, which is the pseudo-scientific practice of determining a person's personality traits based on how close they were born to certain video game release dates. Though I am good at that too. I'm multi-talented, which is to be expected. I am a Gradius Rising. So you may be wondering what any of this has to do with esports, unless you didn't know this was a panel about esports and just found yourself wanting to sit somewhere with air conditioning. And if that's the case, hello, my name is Ben Padden, and I'm here to talk to you. Sorry, let me read that again. I'm here to lie to you about esports. Now, in case you've been living under a rock or living on top of one, but the butt cramp of sitting on a rock all day has distracted you from current events, esports is huge. Whether it's the Grand National Pac-Man Theory Test, or huge arena events like this year's truly spectacular International Minesweeper Cup, it seems competitive gaming is only getting bigger and better. But how did we get here? And more importantly, how did we get here? In this presentation, we will explore the forgotten timeline of events from esports' humble beginnings to the large arena-dwelling mega tournaments of today. And over the next 7 hours, you will learn the complete history of esports. Esports? Esports. Now, I have been asked by my lawyer to inform you that the content of this presentation is a work of fiction for the purposes of entertainment. I won't lie, this upset me a little bit. So I asked him exactly how much of what I intend to share with you today I'm allowed to describe as true. And he said basically nothing. In fact, he begged me not to do this talk at all. But fortunately for me, and therefore fortunately for you, much like the rest of this presentation, he's actually made up. So he can disagree with me all he wants, but at the end of the day, he is an entirely fictional construct for the purposes of this joke, and as soon as I finish this sentence, he will cease to exist, and therefore no longer be of consequence to anyone. There he goes, watch him now, disappearing. There we go. All gone now. Incidentally, I'm sure there are some of you in the audience thinking, why didn't Ben make their fictional lawyer a woman? Surely that speaks to some manner of sexism on their part. Not so. See, making my imaginary legal counsel a woman only to have her cease to exist to better serve the narrative is called fridging, and that's even more sexist. You've got to think these things through. Now then, let's start from the beginning. 776 BCE. A quiet time for video games. In Athens, Greece, the very first Olympic Games are taking place, giving birth to the first formal sporting event, as well as the first sporting arena hot dog. It tastes pretty much the same. The event is deemed a triumph, a spectacular success, despite relatively few people tuning in to watch on television. Almost 1,000 years later, 1752, Benjamin Franklin performs his famous kite in a thunderstorm experiment, the end result of which is, as we all know, the invention of electricity, which Franklin would go on to sell for a nickel a bottle. This is, of course, where we get the common phrase, cheaper than a bottle of Franklin brand Zip Zap juice. Moving on again, 1886, during the finals of the World Chess Championship in New York City, the game is called in favor of Austria-Hungary's Wilhelm Steinitz after his opponent, Johann Zukertort, representing the UK, is struck by lightning. Thus, the first e-sport is born. Sadly, the idea may have already been ahead of its time, as the concept didn't really take off, in part because Zukertort ultimately died of his injuries. It's exciting stuff. We're not even into the 20th century, and already esports has claimed its first life. Fun fact. I'm going to be littering these throughout the presentation. Fun fact, esports is actually named for Ethan Sports, who formalized the first rule set for what would become the modern esports tournament. Isn't it funny? It's a spitting image of my lawyer. Funny old world. In 1922, post-World War I, pre-World War II Britain, the very first television broadcaster coming out of the British Broadcasting Company, later renamed the British Broadcasting Corporation, better known now as Babitka. Today, Babitka is home to some of the finest programming in the world, shows like Planet Earth, Fast Car Television Program, and Inspector Gadget. But at the beginning of its life, the broadcaster was mostly known for its live televised broadcast of presenters staring silently into the camera, saying nothing, seemingly gazing deep into the very souls of the viewers. These broadcasts absolutely terrified the dozen or so people in the London area who could actually afford a television. And so eventually an audio element was introduced in the form of telephone calls. Babitka naturally assuming that if their audience could afford a television, they could probably afford a phone line too. So these phone calls later evolved into telephone chess and telephone checkers, with people calling in to compete against each other for the prize of a brand new shirt button. BBC budgets. Though not acknowledged at the time, these telesports were actually the world's first televised esports tournaments. Unfortunately, it wasn't terribly interesting to watch. Games were long and tedious, but Babitka were the only broadcaster in the country, and crucially, they had virtually no other programming to air. So for much of the next 15 years, televised phone games made up the bulk of BBC broadcasts, preempted only for other programming such as the news, still life paintings of fruit, and eventually, in 1939, World War II. Now, Babitka actually stopped broadcasting entirely during the Second World War, which makes sense. Nobody likes reboots as much as the original. But importantly, it gets darker sometimes. Importantly, this led to a screeching halt in the evolution of televised, televoned, telesports, and more seriously, almost no recordings of these early esports tournaments exist, Babitka having destroyed them all during World War II to make room for blooper reels of Winston Churchill flubbing his big speeches. Now, during World War II, the British public was put on rationing. That is your one real fact for this entire presentation. This was a way of ensuring that the country had sufficient resources for the wartime effort. Milk, bread, meat, cheese, and sarcasm were all in limited supply both during and after the Second World War. And crucial to our story, however, was the rationing of games, a slide I've just accidentally brought up by tapping my phone with my thumb. Now, these are almost impossible to find outside of military bases, hospitals, and of course, as we all know, Neville Chamberlain's sex dungeon. And when rationing ended on July the 4th, 1954, British children flocked to their local toy shops, intent on buying games like Pong and Frogger, only to be faced with disappointment when they were told these games didn't exist yet, and wouldn't for at least another 30 years. Fun fact. This is the second fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, and variations thereupon. The majority of esports take place on the internet, which was also a filming location for the 1995 Sandra Bullock action thriller, The Net. It is 1962. America is yet to experience the tragedy of the Kennedy assassination, but is nevertheless still reeling from the theft and subsequent loss of the amphibian man. Nothing actually happened relating to esports in 1962. I just missed this guy, you know. He's on both sides of me. It's like he's giving me a big fishy hug. A decade later, in 1972, they saw the release of the first commercially successful arcade game, Pong. This came as a huge relief to arcade owners, as up until this point, arcades had been largely empty and thus running at a substantial loss. But the success of Pong drastically shook up the way we look at both electronic entertainment, sports, and the spaces where they meet. As interest in Pong skyrocketed, interest in the sport it was loosely based on, the sport you may know, some of you if you're older in the audience, you might know this one is tennis, dried up. Now, some of you out there seem young, so I'll do my best to explain what tennis was. Basically, it was sort of a real-world, like, pre-virtual version of Pong, where you have two human players in place of the bars, and a round felt-covered sphere, also called a tennis ball, serving as the Pong. Unfortunately, that's about all we know about tennis, as everything else is sadly lost to time, but the sport was insanely popular up until the mid-70s. In fact, until 1977, the International Pong Championship held each year in London was actually a tennis tournament. They switched to Pong when it became clear that tennis as a sport would not survive the decade, and of course, for sentimental reasons, they kept the original name Wimbledon. With the transition from tennis to Pong, Wimbledon in effect became the first annual esports tournament, and because of the pedigree and history of Wimbledon as a tournament, that means esports actually began proper in 1877, the year of the very first Wimbledon tournament, predating Johann Zuckertort's death at the World Chess Championships by 9 full years. Ultimately, Zuckertort died for nothing, and I want you to entirely forget everything I taught you about him at the beginning of this show. Did you all forget? I'd want to stress, I'm not continuing this presentation until you can all guarantee that you've forgotten his name. Gone? You gone? Okay, good. I hope the guys are monitoring the Twitch chat, because I do want the chat to confirm they have forgotten as well. I think we're good. Okay, we're good. Let's move on. Okay, so tennis. Actually, you know what? Let me check my notes, because I'm really worried I've been mispronouncing that the whole time. Tennis, tennis, tenenis. No, okay, it is tennis. Okay, good. So tennis went from a thriving. There's a slide I skipped. It's him dying again. I'm very sorry. Can you forget that you saw that? I realize I may have, brought back a forgotten memory. Let's all just move on. So it went from a thriving sport. Tennis went from a thriving sport to a dead pastime in less than 5 years, and it took even less time for civilization to forget about it entirely. A relatively quick death compared to other sports. Baseball survived for the better part of a decade after the release of Jay Leno's baseball for the NES. That's mostly because video games weren't able to replicate the sensation of watching an incredibly dull sport while consuming a disappointing hot dog and a flat beer until Miller Lite released the beer tap adapter for the PlayStation 2. That pretty much did that sport in. Cricket, a sport invented by the British and perfected by the Australians, has never had a good game adaptation, but we stopped playing it anyway because it turns out people just wanted an excuse not to have to pay attention to it anymore. Nobody knows the rules for cricket. Not one person. Does anyone here know how to play cricket? Case in point, boom. See? It's because it's boring. A game of cricket can last several days, and it ends when it's either time for tea, or it starts raining, or the players get bored and just sort of wander off. And they all wandered off, and they never came back. Mario Golf. Over time, pretty much all analog sport, or A-sports as we now call them, have given way to digitized counterparts. The last sporting holdouts are basketball, which people still play because it's the only sport endorsed by Bugs Bunny, and soccer, better known to Americans as David Beckham. But that's mostly because video games have yet to simulate the joy of watching a full-grown European man get hit in the shoulder by a ball, only to clutch his face and fall to the ground like Harvey Dent in a hot oil factory. Fun fact. In Star Trek The Next Generation, star dates were revised to have actual meaning, unlike their use in the original series. The first digit is a 4 to represent the 24th century, followed by a digit representing the current season of The Next Generation, while the next 3 digits, ranging from 001 to 999, indicate how far into the year they are. and a decimal point indicating progress through a day. This system continued to be used in the spin-offs, Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager, though they eventually abandoned the 4 representing the 24th century. The last star date given in the last episode of Star Trek Voyager is 54973.4, which would place it around December 22nd, around 6:59 a.m. It's 1991, and Capcom has had an idea. What if they dusted off an old, moderately successful arcade game from the late 80s, massively revamped the setting and premise, and put out a... sorry, I've completely spaced. I apologize. And put out a sequel that would not only reinvigorate the brand, but also invent a new video game genre in the process. Unfortunately, their first attempt, a follow-up to the 1989 arcade cabinet adaptation of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, didn't make waves. But the second attempt, a sequel to 1987's Street Fighter, named, appropriately enough, Another Street Fighter, was an instant hit. Capcom hit upon a winning formula, one that no one had ever thought of before or since. What if 2 people just beat the crap out of each other? It was a novel proposition, and one that went against the friendly, non-violent nature of humans. But it worked. Soon, Another Street Fighter machines were everywhere. Arcades, convenience stores, laundromats, bars, jars, cars, bras, and wars. And Capcom came to the unavoidable conclusion. They had made the perfect game. There was no need to follow it up with any kind of revisions or sequels. Why risk tampering with perfection? Don't make me break kayfabe. Don't do it. Another Street Fighter, despite going against humanity's own policy of violent abstinence, that is, abstaining from violence as opposed to violently not having sex with each other, was a hit. And as a competitive game that valued high skill above high scores, many tournaments were built with Another Street Fighter at their core. And this is where we start to see some of our first esports personalities appear, including Big Zeke, Banana Havoc, Hot Dog Lover 69, and James. But in the history of esports, few personalities are as big and as memorable, or indeed as historic, as DiGiorno Thundercat. Now, DiGiorno Thundercat, aka Diggy Thunder, entered the Another Street Fighter tournament circuit in 2002 and made history when he successfully achieved the unprecedented 47-in-a-row parry on an attack from another celebrated Another Street Fighter competitor, Goblin Feet. He later went on to win 34 consecutive matches against top-tier players, such as Kid Brother, Tampax Pearl Max, and We Have Your Daughter If You Want to See Her Again, Leave the Money Under the Big Tree in the Park, No Police Come Alone. DiGiorno Thundercat is considered one of esports' greatest competitors. Unfortunately, in 2008, his career was tragically brought to an end when he stopped playing. He's fine now, I think. I think he works in insurance or something. Another Street Fighter success marks a turning point in the popularity of esports in the public consciousness. Not only did it result in a very brief revival of the popularity of A-sports, that being analog sports, with the short-lived advent of real-world street fighting in the form of UFC and boxing. It also led to an explosion in other esports tournaments, which brings us to today, the year of our Lord, 2021. Every game has its own tournament. Full teams of players compete on the world stage, with some teams scoring lucrative sponsorship deals from large telephone companies and oil conglomerates. From rocket jumps to Rocket League, this is all there is. This is all there is. Of course, with sport comes celebrity, and with celebrity comes scandal, and esports has had no shortage of that. From Guy Bitchy pausing a league game of Worms Armageddon in the middle of his opponent's turn to promote his new line of energy drinks, to Neapolitan Toucan's disqualification from the 2004 Smash Brothers regional semi-finals for replacing competitor and actual baby's GameCube controller with a banana with push pins in it. But arguably, the biggest scandal in esports history occurred during the 2019 Doom hypothetical World Finals of Deathmatch. As we all know, a hypothetical deathmatch is where 2 contestants sit at the same table, close their eyes, and imagine who might win in a game between them. In 2019, the finalists of the Doom Hypotheticals were long-standing hypothetical champion Dan Dynamite Dangerous and an actual baby. A hypothetical newcomer who had watched the tournament stream the previous year and hypothesized that she might be able to compete on a pro level. An actual baby shook up the entire tournament by blazing through to the finals, hypothetically unseating several established pros such as Jamiroquai, Ben Padden, no relation, and this program is brought to you with limited commercial interruption by State Farm. It was a tense, tight match with Dan Dynamite Dangerous claiming victory in the end. However, as we all know, that wasn't the end. Dangerous was disqualified after it was discovered that he had hypothesized himself using a modified controller, as well as taking hypothetical performance-enhancing drugs. An actual baby was declared the overall champion, and Dangerous retired from the game in shame. Dan Dynamite Dangerous, risky imagining, shook up the entire esports circuit, both hypothetically and actually. Probably the biggest change was the banning of Mountain Dew from all esports events on the grounds that its delicious flavor and thirst-quenching power qualified it as a performance enhancer. This rather upset Mountain Dew, themselves a sponsor of numerous esports events, who were forced to release a statement that said, actually, Mountain Dew does not enhance gaming performance at all. It isn't even that good. It tastes like a car battery. The majority of esports regulatory bodies disagreed, citing Mountain Dew's own advertisements that stated the beverage, quote, definitely makes you a better gamer than you would be if you drank like water or Dr. Pepper or whatever. The backlash caused Master Chief to step down as an official spokesperson for Mountain Dew, citing conflict of and/or lack of interest. Mountain Dew continues to sponsor esports tournaments to this day, using exciting new slogans such as, it's not that great, and we don't even make the drink, it leaks out of the side of a weird rock formation we found in the woods. But what of Dan Dynamite Dangerous? For so long, the face of esports, the scandal seemingly destroyed his career. Or did it? Yes. All right, we got a little time. If anyone has a question that they would like to ask, I'm happy to field a quick question or two. If anyone has any questions about this very real and factual presentation I gave. Any questions at all? We have a hand up here. We have are these microphones mic'd up? Okay, I would say go to either one of these microphones. Hello, red shirt.
Yes, hello. What was Dr. Pepper's contrary statement to Mountain Dew's proclamations?
They just said, whatever, bro, go for it. They were not particularly, they were quite happy to watch Mountain Dew set themselves on fire, figuratively and literally.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem. Hello there.
Hi, so after stepping down, what's Master Chief up to these days?
Master Chief is semi-retired. Obviously there's no pandemic happening right now, so people can go out and enjoy themselves. I believe that he is beekeeping, which is very fitting. And he may be working on a line of exercise tapes called Get Fit with Master Chief. That's only rumors though, although there is a very, very nice leaked video on the YouTubes. If you'd like to go looking for that, just go to theyoutubes.com and type in Master Chief Thong. Any other questions at all? Hello, I don't know you.
No, we don't, not at all. We've never met
before. Not at all. What is the question I haven't paid you to say? Did you not have one when you came up to the...
Well, you made me forget it for a second. So, what were the sponsors that an actual baby had?
What were the sponsors that an actual baby had? An actual baby is currently seeking sponsors, but there was a brief time when an actual baby was sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Pringles, but only the Italian branch of Pringles, which is where the good flavors are. I think one of the most prominent sponsors, and I think it's one that we're all aware of, is Mentos the Fresh Maker. Because when you have an actual baby, you want as much mint as possible around that baby, because otherwise it gets very foul very quickly. Hello, yes, you're wearing a mask during not a pandemic.
The future of esports is very murky, or is it? Yes. I'm curious if you can give us some insight into the future of esports that we should pay attention to.
I think, I realize this is a controversial statement, I think we're going to start to see interest in esports wane in favor of, again, what we now call analog sports or A-sports. I think baseball is due for a comeback. I think it could happen. And I think that there are some very interesting things happening in analog sports in countries like Iceland and Greenland and Super Mario Land. Yeah, I think that esports might quieten down for a little bit, and we're going to see a resurgence in esports. I think that's where it's going. Thank you.
Thank you. Or do I?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. I was wondering, somebody of your prominence and stature, would you be able to, like once and for all, settle the debate on how to spell esports?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hello.
Hello. I would say let's cap it at these three because I know that we're coming up against it, but ask me a very quick question, I'll give you a brief answer.
I play semi-competitive Dance Dance Revolution-like games, which is a video game and an esport and an a-sport simultaneously.
We don't like you. We're not fans of you in the community. We don't trust the daywalkers.
I know. But would you say, should it be hybrid H-sports or something else?
I think it should be EA Sports because it's in the game. Thank you. Wait a minute, did you get my Venmo payment?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good, you can ask the question, go for it.
Thank you. So, with your boundless knowledge on esports, could you give us a little bit of a grounding in the difference between British esports and American esports?
Yes, of course. British esports, fun fact, we actually call them biscuits over there. British esports, there's a lot more kind of, it's more of kind of a laddish, kind of aggressive space to be in. To the point where most esport deaths have occurred in the United Kingdom. Whereas Americans, obviously we all know Americans are kind of a tepid, gentle, meek folk by nature. So it's a lot more, it's friendlier here than it is over there. I'd say that's probably the key distinction between the two.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Thank you. And with that, thank you very much. I'm just going to quickly, special thanks to my friend Adam Saklaridis for playing my lawyer and Ethan Sports. Please check out his music at adamthesack.com. He is brilliant. And I also want to plug a couple of podcasts. I do a podcast called Out on Her Fanny. My fiance and I are watching the American 90s sitcom The Nanny and going through it episode by episode. I am also the GM of a Doctor Who role-playing game actual play podcast called The Game of Rassilon. And you can find that at Adventures in Time and .space. Thank you so much for letting me lie to you for an hour. You're all wonderful people, and enjoy the rest of your Monday.